Hello and welcome to episode 283 of the Juicebox Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Dexcom, Omnipod, and Dancing for Diabetes. You can find all the sponsors on Facebook or Instagram, but if you want to go right to the source, you got to go to dexcom.com/juicebox or myomnipod.com/juicebox. Now that's going to be to find out more about the Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor, and of course, the tubeless insulin pump that Arden has been using forever, the Omnipod. And if you want to know more about Dancing for Diabetes, well, that's dancing4diabetes.com. In episode 274 of the podcast, Maya came on and talked about drinking with type 1 diabetes. And today, Alex is here to talk about smoking with type 1. Now, I hope you understand I'm not talking about cigarettes, right? I'm talking about a doobie, Houdini, reefer, a spliff. You get what I'm saying here. Grass, bud, asparagus. Your Aunt Mary, ganja, marijuana, pot. Some of you might notice chronic, dank. I prefer weed. Anyway, Alex is going to come on and talk all about his life. And he happens to be a frequent smoker. This one went way different than I thought it was going to, and honestly may be one of my favorite episodes. Please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise, and always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan, becoming bold with insulin, or sparking up that sticky icky.
Hello?
Alex.
Hey.
Hey, before you even get comfortable, I'm going to test you, okay? I'm going to say 3 words. You tell me what comes after it. Noich, noich, noich. Go.
Noich, noich, noich. I don't know
what. You don't know
next.
Jay and Silent Bob? All right. Okay. You're out, Alex. No, I'm just kidding. You're just young, Alex. That's what you are.
I am. I'm 26.
No, seriously. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I actually am high right now. Not weed high, but I'm blood sugar high. And there's going to be a lot of that, like, which high am I talking about? But, yeah, it was just, I ate something and I always get high after, even if I dose. It's a carb ratio thing. But I also, I'm type 1 diabetic, but I have Addison's disease as well.
Okay.
Which means I don't produce adrenaline, I don't produce cortisol, and I don't produce aldosterone. And I took my pills before I ate, and normally I don't eat this early, so it was kind of messed that up, but it's not a big deal. It'll come down eventually.
What pill did you take?
I took hydrocortisone.
And what's that help with? What's it supposed to help with?
It's like cortisol replacement.
Okay.
I have like a baseline of them, and I just take them, replace that. There was a portion of my life with Addison's that I made my doctor upset and told him, because he told me that my hydrocortisone never affected my diabetes. And I disagreed with him because I had researched it before that. And I had another doctor when I first got diagnosed tell me that it does. And this other doctor tried to tell me it didn't. So I challenged him, and he gave me a cease and desist letter and told me to go find another doctor for my endocrinology. The reason why I chose that doctor in the first place is because he said he would take care of my diabetes and the Addisons together. And unfortunately, he couldn't do that. I found a doctor since then that can. But there was like 2 years of my life that I didn't have any doctor for either because he couldn't handle me revolting. And my doctor now embraces my honesty and my directness. And if I have an idea or if I have different ideas that she has,
yeah,
she won't challenge me. She'll go home, look them up, and then on the next meeting, or she'll call me on the next time, and we'll have a conversation about it then, rather than just immediately saying, no, I don't know that, and kicking me out or not wanting to have the conversation.
Let me ask you a question. When you when you said revolting, did you mean like, did you like sail a boat up to his harbor and drop tea in it and stuff like that? Or
no,
you yell and scream?
of,
did you punch him in the head? Or you mean you resisted what he said and said, I don't agree? Gotcha.
I was just I'm very direct when I don't agree with something, being that this is like my life, my choice. Like the doctor, it's kind of a hard thing being younger. Like I got diabetes when I was 3 years old. And have had it ever since. And then Addison's when I was 15. So I kind of had to grow up at a young age, and I've got my voice, my strength from that. You know what I mean? Because going into these doctors' offices all the time, doctors kind of want to tell you what they know rather than want to hear what I know about it and work together on it. It's more of a one-sided type thing, and I don't rock that way. I want to know what's going on, what's going in my body, and do I have to have that? And since like this time back in the day, because there was a time where my HbA1c was at 15 and I wasn't taking care of my diabetes, and I've always had this mental kind of position on my diseases that I'm not going to be let them get in the way of my life. I'm going to do what I want when I want. And with Addison's, particularly when I was diagnosed, it was when I was 15. It was my 15th birthday that I got out of the hospital, and it was on a Sunday. And that's all I wanted for my birthday that year was to get out of the hospital, because on that Tuesday I was supposed to go snowboarding. And the thing with Addison's is that it's like a life-threatening disease. Like if you break your arm or have any serious trauma to your body, you got to get a shot, and you could potentially die. But the doctor was like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You're new to this disease. You could have an issue, and it could be the end of you." But I was like, "Nah, I'm going to snowboarding. Not, you know what I mean? It's not going to hold me back, and I got to do what I got to do." Yeah. Like I'm still young. I'm still free. When you look at me, you don't see these diseases. I look like everyone else.
Right.
So I'm not going to make it look like I'm, short or less than. I'm going to go do what I do. And if it doesn't work out, then at least I'm living.
Nice. Hey, so let's ask a couple baseline questions and get going. You said it a second ago, but no, you're good. You diagnosed with type 1 diabetes how old?
3 years old.
3 years old. That's 23 years ago, right?
Yep.
Okay.
23.
Was there any existence of type 1 in your family or other endocrine issues?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not on both sides.
So 3 years old, 23 years ago.
It was very different times back then, I'll tell you that.
I was going to say, how did you start?
So basically when I got diagnosed, I was in San Diego. I was in a camping trip with my mom, and I had just been at my grandma's house in LA, and she was cleaning up, and the toilet seat, I was obviously 3 years old, so I didn't have perfect aim at the time.
Of course. And
the rim of the toilet seat was sparkling, dancing like diamonds. My grandma, she's a very clean woman, so she noticed it right away, and when she was cleaning, and it kind of stood out to her. She had read a diabetes forecast magazine, her and my grandpa, and knew something was up. Told my mom, and she was like, "All right, when we get back from our camping trip, I'll look into it." And on the camping trip, there was a bathroom across the street from our campsite, across the little road or whatever. And she kept having to walk across the street, which it was very noticeable how many times I was going to the bathroom. And we only had so much water at the campsite, so I was consuming all the water and pissing it all out. It was a red flag for her. Yeah. And long story short, we went to the hospital. They wanted to diagnose me there, but being that my mom was a single mom, she couldn't spend her time in San Diego. We were only there for a trip.
Yeah.
So basically, she denied the doctor's health request or denied service or whatever. Boogied back to Orange County, which is an hour away from San Diego.
And then did it there.
And got me diagnosed in Orange or in Mission Viejo, and lived with it ever since. But back when I started, insulin injections, long term, short term, the whole 9 yards. And my doctor was actually in LA too, so it was always a traveling time to handle my diabetes.
Let me ask you this, just for a second to finish up the thought. Sparkling toilet seat was sugar appearing in your urine?
Yes, sir. Yeah. My blood sugar when I was diagnosed was, my mom said 1,300 or 1,400, something like that.
Jesus.
Yeah,
wow.
It was pretty bad. That's why it was very prominent.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. That's the biggest number anyone's ever said on here. Just so you know, you've won a prize.
Well, I didn't even now, like my blood. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Of course, you get a medal or something.
My blood sugar gets high. Like even with the insulin, I'm on a pump. You know what I mean? I just get high really quick. Like I ate a BLT, 2 pieces of bread before, like I was like at 7 a.m. this morning, and my blood sugar shot up. Like I had pre-dosed, 20 minutes before, and it just immediately shoots up. It's like super quick. But I probably already had diabetes for a good while, obviously, since it was so high.
Right.
And I don't really complain. You know what I mean? I've always been one to just take heat.
Alex, I know this isn't why you're on, but let me ask you a couple of questions. You're pre-bolusing 20 minutes outside of a sandwich, which isn't crazy. How high are you getting after that?
My blood sugar was 250 on my Dexcom, or actually 192 right now, but it was 250 on my blood sugar, my contour test kit. But I've noticed with the Dexcom that when you're shooting up fast, like when you're flying up, it can't capture the cap. It can't capture the top end of where you're about to get at before you get there.
Until you get to it. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hey, so let me ask you a question. After you get high like that, do you come back down on your own, or do you have to correct with more insulin to get back down?
Definitely have to correct. I definitely have to correct.
Okay.
It's been tough. My focus right now in these 3 months from the last time I saw my endocrinologist is I have a problem with emotional dosing. Like I'm high and I'm I'm staying high and I'm trying to step down, and it's not coming down quick enough for me, So I just keep, all right, here's another 2 units, here's another unit, and just try to bring her down.
Yeah.
And it
eventually
never
you get
know.
low.
Or if I see it starting to come down, I'll stop. But I just hate being high.
No, you shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, but it's being that I've had it for so long. If I had to choose high or low, I would choose low any day. I've had some
highs that go on for hours and hours that are more work than fixing a tough low, right?
Yeah, and I've tried the 670, you know what I mean, the closed loop system and all that.
Right.
And I have the Tandem now with the Basal IQ, and I got the Dexcom, and I've been with all the new tech and whatnot. And the 670, I thought it was going to be the game changer, and it just
didn't help you.
No, it did not at all, and actually sent me to the hospital multiple times.
Hey, you guys can put that in an ad, Medtronic. Congratulations. So let me ask you another. Yeah, of course, man. Let me ask you another question, okay? It's been find a time in your mind. It's been a few hours since you ate and a few hours since you've had insulin. Where does your blood sugar sit stably when it sits stable without insulin or food?
It's perfect. 100. You know what I mean? 100 flat. 100, and it'll vary up to 110 and then come back down to 100. It's perfect. And that's when I first got to my doctor now, that was her first goal.
Yeah.
Let's get a baseline. Don't eat. You know what I mean? And if you do eat, let's see, her thing was don't eat breakfast, don't eat lunch, eat dinner. And then once we figure out dinner, then we can start with breakfast. Don't eat lunch, dinner, only eat breakfast and see what it does.
Yeah.
And just have me not eat. And I was totally game for it because, like I said, there was a time where I didn't care about my diabetes and I was just living.
And you're trying to care now.
Yeah, I'm really trying to care now. Like I said, my highest was at 15 and now it's at 6.5. You know what I mean? And it still has room to improve, but that's all me. Once I took it over from my mom, because my mom was my main caretaker for a while, and I was like, I'm going to take this over. And recently I've actually paid for everything myself now too, because that's a portion of diabetes that is slept on or not really talked about, is how expensive it is for younger kids. You know what I mean? I know you don't have diabetes, but your daughter does. And I'm sure that right now she's trying to get a job. She's trying to do her thing, trying to get her education so that she can afford it one day. But being that we have parents, we get it at a young age, that have that hustle and drive to be able to get the money, to be able to afford these things. There's a time where we got to do that too. And I think as these companies progress and technology gets better, that should be something that, you know what I mean, achievable, for everyone. There was this guy that I met playing basketball, and he had a baby, and he was probably 30 or something. And he had a baby, and he had a pump. He had sensor and all that, living his best life. And when the baby came, he couldn't afford the baby and his pump and sensor. Like, he couldn't afford both at the same time.
Okay.
So he gave up his pump to be able to afford his kid.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that totally blew me away, because I was like, I've never even once had to think about giving up my technology for like someone else or
yeah.
like for money.
Let me give you an honest statement from a person who has 2 children and is probably more than 2/3 way done with his life. Don't make a baby till you can afford it.
Exactly. I'm
deal.
right there with you.
Yes, you can help it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Hey, so listen, going back to your bolus though for a second, if you're doing a nice little pre-bolus and you're going to 250 and you have to correct to come back down, in my mind, your insulin to carb ratio for that meal is not right. And so a good place to begin would be to make that sandwich again the next day. Take the bolus that you used and add a good deal of your correction to the initial bolus. And that should stop the spike without making you low.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's more about the impact of the food. Like, do you ever have a time where you do a pre-bolus, count the carbs right, and you don't get high? Like, do different foods affect you differently?
So my BLT is like my glory food at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, all I eat is a Chipotle bowl, and I get the exact same thing in it every time.
Okay.
Because what you were just saying. And my other thing that I eat is Blaze Pizza. I get a build your own. I actually just switched over to cauliflower crust. But I do those meals. If I'm going to eat out, those are the 2 meals that I eat.
Right.
And I eat salads and stuff at home. Basically, like protein to carb ratios I just got into. Like you were saying, like trying to figure out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree. I'm a sandwich person. I really enjoy sandwiches and sushi. I used to love sushi, but I've had to kick the bucket recently.
I don't think you can't have a sandwich. I just think you have to figure out how that sandwich is impacting your blood sugar and get the insulin moved. So the impact of the insulin covers the action of the carbs, or the action of the insulin covers the impact of the carbs. I mean, they're peaking at the same time, and it's a little more fair fight.
The thing today was I had just taken my pills and I went to get a sandwich, so I was doubling up. The hydrocortisone naturally makes me high, and I normally take that around like 10.
Yeah. Like
10 a.m. or whatever. So I was a little bit early on that. So basically at 10, I'm going to get my increased basal with my pills. But since I already took my pills, I'm going to probably crash down at like 10 a.m. So it's kind of like I was just hungry. So I just ate.
You think the scheduling threw you off more than anything else?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It wasn't like I'll wake up early, but sometimes I don't eat early. I was just watching the sunrise and going, because I can see the ocean from my apartment.
Nice.
So I was just I normally don't get up this early, so it was just
take a look, right? Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Hey, I hear you. All right, so Alex, let's tell everybody why you're on the podcast.
Yep.
So how long have you been listening to the show?
Honestly, I had listened to another diabetes podcast, and when I work, I listen to podcasts because I'm trying to expand my mind while I'm at the office.
Right.
But not that long. Probably like 3 episodes before I heard the After Dark one, and I was like, "Oh, this is me."
Okay, so you're a pretty new listener, and you hear the episode where we're talking about drinking with type 1 diabetes, and I say at some point in there, I need like somebody who legitimately smokes weed a lot to come on and talk about that. So it's very nice of you to put yourself out like that. Let me make the same preamble that I made during the drinking one. I've never smoked weed.
Really?
Yes.
Oh man.
And so I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's why it's perfect that you're here, because you can help me understand it, and we can get some kind of context. So let me ask my first question. How old were you the first time you did it? The Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor will make knowledge your superpower. It is FDA permitted to allow for 0 finger sticks, has customizable alarms and alerts, smart device compatible Android and Apple. That's the iOS. You know it. You can share your data with up to 10 followers. 10. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a lot. 10. There's Siri integration, and it's indicated for use in children 2 years and up. Do you hear Siri? Shut up, Siri. Hey, Siri, stop. I love it when you tell Siri to cancel and it says there's nothing to cancel, but it just asks you something. Cancel means stop talking to me. That's enough. I'm being hocked in Chinik by my phone. That's bad Yiddish pronunciation, by the way, in case you're wondering. Back to Dexcom. Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor. Find out which way your blood sugar is moving, right? The direction and the speed. And it doesn't have to just be you, like the person with diabetes. It could be a loved one, a child, a friend, a sister, a long lost, I don't know, milkman. Like say you're like from the 1920s and you used to have a guy that brings you milk and somehow he's still alive, even though he's probably an adult back then. He's 143 now, but he has type 1 diabetes and you're still worried about him. If that guy's got a Dexcom G6, you're a milkman from the 1920s, and you have like an iPhone or an Android, you could help him know what his blood sugar is. Isn't that crazy? That's like time travel right there. You need a Dexcom continuous glucose monitor. Please take it from me. Go to dexcom.com/juicebox to get started today. Psych, another ad. This one's for Omnipod, the Omnipod tubeless insulin pump. It's making me happy thinking about it. myomnipod.com/juicebox. Here's something about the Omnipod I've never considered before. I saw it online just today. Someone said, do you remember trying to run with your insulin pump and it would pop off your belt and then it would just be like some swinging sickle of death whipping around from the tubing in the air while you're furiously reaching for it, hoping it doesn't pull out your infusion set? And I thought, I can picture that, but I don't have any experience with it because my daughter's always used a tubeless insulin pump, the Omnipod. Another reason why Omnipod is terrific is because they'll let you try the system out. They'll send you a free, no obligation demo in the mail. You can try it on and see what you think. You don't have to just take my word for it. To get that free demo, go to myomnipod.com/juicebox. You fill out a tiny bit of information about yourself. Omnipod will send you the demo pod right to your house. And don't worry, it's non-functioning, right? So it's not like it's going to, it can't give you insulin or anything like that. It just gives you the experience of wearing it. You could even shower with it or, do whatever you're going to do with it to see how it fits into your life. myomnipod.com/juicebox. There's also links in your show notes and at juiceboxpodcast.com. And after you do that, head over to Dancing for Diabetes. Find out more about that organization. Dancing4diabetes.com. All of the sponsors' information is available at juiceboxpodcast.com, and there are always links in the show notes of your podcast player. Dexcom.com/juicebox. myomnipod.com/juicebox. Dancing4diabetes.com. All right, no more ads. Lots of show left. Let's get back to Alex. I'll tell you, by the end, I'm just like, this kid, I love him. What do you say?
So I knew you were going to ask this, and it's always the question.
Let's cover it first. Your mom's a lovely person, and she loves you. She's a really good parent. How old were you the first time you got high?
Well, I had smoked with my stepbrother when I was in 3rd grade.
Okay. Does that make you 8 or 9?
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I just know I was in 3rd grade because I went back to school on Monday, and I was like,
I'm a man now.
Well, basically, like my parents were having a party, and my stepbrother isn't the best influence. You know what I mean?
I took that from what you just said. Yeah.
He was like about to leave, like the party, and normally like he would stay for him because he likes to party, but he was leaving, and I'm like, David, let me come with you, and just followed him out of the house and walked across the street. We lived right across the street from the school that I went to. My mom always wanted to be close. In case I needed something at the school, she would always be like literally a walking distance from that, like the school to the house.
Okay.
We walked across the street to the school, went to the lunch yard, and he was smoking and just handed it to me. And I smoked. I hadn't, it was just one time, one puff or whatever, and didn't smoke again until like freshman year. And ever since freshman year, just every day if I can.
Do you have a recollection of it when you were 9, that one puff?
I remember everything up to it. But after it wasn't too, nothing really after it.
Too clear? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then back to your freshman year, that makes you about 14, right?
14, 15, okay. Yeah.
So, my first question, I guess, is what do we call it? Like, am I good with saying smoking weed or do I sound ridiculous?
No, smoking weed, smoking pot. I mean,
that works?
I call it pot, yeah, weed. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you're in California?
Yes.
And is it? Have you traveled much? Is there a lot of truth to the idea that the pot in marijuana in the pot in California is at a different level, power wise?
Yes, without a doubt. I got some weed when I was in Indiana. I've got some weed in New York. Got some weed in Georgia. Um, in Tennessee, I got some. Yeah, none of it was really hitting like that. I mean, if basically you want some good weed in any of those other locations, you just got to pay more. You know what I mean? Like, because we have like exports to California. You know what I mean? Like on the black market, I guess you could say. Like sending it out to wherever you need it, they'll get it to you. It's just how much you're willing to pay and how much risk you're willing to pay for that high.
For it to get there,
But yeah, we definitely have it's easier to get it out here. Like I can have weed in the time that this podcast takes. I can have weed delivered to me. Like I don't even have to leave the house, and I can literally open up another tab, order it, and continue doing this. Like I don't have to try to get it. You know what I mean?
like Uber Smokes, something like
exactly.
that. Yeah,
Well,
except not through Uber.
We have a thing that's called Weed Maps, and there's businesses on there that you can just call, or they have online menus and stuff. It's super easy.
See, cell phones are important. Okay, so tell me this, because I really don't understand. I have no context at all. Do you smoke for pleasure, for medical reasons, for both, for one, the other? Like, what's your main, like, when you think about, like, I'm going to smoke now, it's to do what? Are you trying to, like, what are you trying to accomplish, I guess?
Same thing people do when they drink. I mean, I'm not a drinker. For me, I've never been one to drink, and I enjoy it to like calm down or enjoy myself. But I'll tell you, on like a medical standpoint, when I'm high, like my blood sugar is high, and I smoke, the blood sugar being high is less. You know what I mean? It's not as demanding on me. Like for me, when I'm high, my blood or my body just doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? It's tight.
Right.
Just like you're treading water. But weed, it just kind of, I can focus on something else. I can do something else.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? I'm not having to only focus on my high blood sugar. And there was a time where I was recreationally doing it and enjoying it, abusing it, you could say. Like when I was younger in high school and past that, I used to smoke blunts, like one after another, 15, 20 in a sitting, hot box my car, like 5, 6 blunts in, open the door and just billowing smoke. And it was a good time, you know, like I really enjoyed it, never thought anything of it until like the abuse portion came into play when I was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. I was smoking blunts, you know, consistently, just killing them. It was backwoods, particularly. I had smoked swishers before that, but backwoods were the thing that I was really into, and they're good. But I kept throwing up, and I didn't understand why. It wasn't necessarily after the blunt; it was more in the morning, like consistently every morning throwing up, and didn't understand it. My doctor was like, "Oh, you have hyperemesis," and I'm like, "I don't think so." Yada yada. And long story short, it wasn't the weed; it was the blunts. It was the tobacco usage that was making me just not have a good morning, and I had to cut back.
What you're doing there, if I'm understanding right, is you're buying basically like an inexpensive cigar that might be sold at like a convenience store. You're splitting it, packing it with weed, and smoking it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, see, the backwoods, you don't split them. You want to roll them, but yeah.
And so, but you're getting that tobacco from what I'm going to call like a cheaper cigar that's probably not meant to be inhaled to begin with. It's
definitely not meant to be inhaled.
Yeah, right. So and how old were you when you were doing that?
Yes. I mean, like freshman year till like a year or two ago.
Alex, you have the constitution of a horse. That's I can't even imagine me smoking just one of those cigars as a small child and not just turning green and falling over. That's something else. Okay, so
I was the environment that I was in, and like it was what's you know what I mean? This is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't gonna drink. So like when we're at parties or something, like kicking it, like in high school, I'm not a drinker. I was always the like quote unquote sober one. that was going to drive home. So I feel like when I smoke a blunt at the party, whatever, kick it, like, you know what I mean? People rolling up for me and, we're hanging out and then it's time to go. I'm not going to be the one that's crazy. I'm going to be more level headed. And being that I have diabetes as well, alcohol, like the woman said on the After Dark one, the alcohol, you got to kind of prepare for that an hour, 2 hours, like from now. You know what I mean? Like, how is that going to affect me in the future? With the weed, it's, I'm going to be the same. Like, it's not going to alter my mind to the point where I'm incapacitated.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have drank alcohol like 5 times on like 5 times where it affected me negatively, and I just wasn't into it. You know what I mean? Like,
You're not a drinker.
Yeah, just not a drinker, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like say this one's better than that one, but
what's the difference in your perspective? What's the difference between the high you get from drinking and the high you get from smoking?
The first 2 drinks aren't bad. You know what I mean? The first 2 drinks, you're chilling. Like, I remember I was in Vegas one time with like some friends, and I had 3 Bud Light Platinums, and I was chilling. You know what I mean? Like, it was good. I was having a good time. Everyone was smiling. We're all, turning up. And the homie came up to me with another Bud Light Platinum that was already open, and it was like the glass bottle. So you had, as soon as it opened, you can't like reseal it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take one. And then 4 turned into 2 more, so I was 6 in, and I was just, you know what I mean, obliterated. And most people that drink, like, they build a tolerance, and 6 beers really isn't much. But someone that doesn't have a tolerance, it really messed me up, and I didn't take care of my diabetes. And my friends, it was like the morning time, and they came into my room and were like, yo, let's go get some food. And I wasn't there. And like, my friend came up close on me, was trying to get me to wake up, like shaking me and stuff, wasn't reacting. And he like pops open my eyes, like grabs my eyelids and tries to look at them. He said they were just black, like my pupils weren't, they were overly sized. And so he knew something was wrong. So basically, he was looking for my keys, found them, boogied me to the hospital, and it was Addison's crisis with the low blood sugar. It was just, a whole situation.
Yeah, and was that masked by the drinking, so you couldn't tell it was happening, right?
Exactly. And I was already like quote unquote drunk, so I passed out, wasn't thinking about that. You know what I mean? Like, and I was too incoherent to push through it and solve the issues. With my weed, no matter how much I smoke, like 15, 16 blunts in, I'm still able to look at my pump and be coherent and be like, oh, I'm high, or oh, I'm low. Like, let's do something about this. And but even then, with that being said, like, there's been parties that I've been at. Like, I remember this one time I'd got off of work, and I've been working since I was 15,
mm-hmm.
and got off of work. I've always had money, so I had a car, so I'm going over to that party up over in Coda, which is like maybe 15, 20 minutes from the house. And I remember pulling into the driveway, going into the house, and that's it. But I guess what I did was I went into the house, I changed, got back in my car, drove over to Coda, pulled up on the homies. I was like, yo, meet me outside. I'm pulling up. And when the homies came outside, I guess I was ready to fight them. Like, I was trying to fight them, like being real aggressive. And I'm naturally not an aggressive person. So they're like, what's going on here? And I was not properly, like, my wording was all slurred. It was really terrible. And they knew something was up. I've known them for a good while. And at the time, they basically shoved me back in the car in the passenger seat. They drove to the hospital and,
mm-hmm.
got me what I needed. But I have no recollection of that, like, at all. They ran red lights. They were really, like, on their way to the hospital in a standard car. And I've always told them, like, if I'm in like a weird mindset or whatever, run the red lights. Like, and if a cop pulls you over, don't pull over. Just go to the hospital and handle it when you get there, and I'll help you out when I get my mindset back or whatever, because
it's that
my
dangerous.
life is important, and I'm sure the cop will understand. I hope.
When you're high, no anger, no feeling like you want to fight people, you're able to take care of your blood sugar. I mean, you just said earlier, you're a person who's just recently decided, like, I'm going to take really good care of my diabetes. You have a 6.5 A1C, which is an amazing obviously improvement over what you had. You have
Yeah.
you have no trouble taking care of it when you're smoking?
Nope. And nope, not at all. I mean, I smoke much less now. Like I smoke a bong and it's, you know what I mean, maybe a 1.5 in a bowl. It's a big bowl piece, but yeah, no, nothing at all. And like the only time where it could be an issue is like the time after you smoke, like the munchies that, you know, people talk about. For me, I try to like I'll smoke throughout the night or whatever, and then I'll allocate like, okay, this is time to eat around like dinner time or whatever time I feel, but I don't try to just keep munching. You know what I mean? Just consistently munching.
Try to find a meal.
Yeah, like I'll allocate it for I've smoked this much, it's time to eat now. Or like if I am trying to snack while smoking or whatever, lettuce, you know what I mean? Like celery, just stuff that isn't carby. But being that I'm trying I'm trying to be healthier, diabetic. I didn't know that carrots had sugar in them or like carbs in them, and
you were munching carrots and not bolusing, yeah.
Yeah, and it was terrible. I was like, carrots, really? Like I was trying to be a good person. I didn't know that carrots could get you like that.
Yeah, carrots are good for you. You just need a little insulin for them. But so you figure it out and you do it next time. It'll be less.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be less insulin than something, that's really heavy with carbs.
Yeah, no, but being like I never used to care about diabetes. When I say that, like never used to care. And like I mean, I would care, but it was if I wanted sushi, I was gonna eat sushi. Like I got my first pump when I was in 5th grade, and it felt like the gates were open. You know what I mean? Like it felt like freedom. Because with the insulin needles and the multiple daily injections, you have a tether to you. You always got to kind of go back to the home base. With the pump, I had 3 days where I could do whatever I wanted. I still never slept over. I was never into sleeping over because I enjoy the safety of my house, or I enjoyed the safety of my mom's house. But the freedoms were endless, and I was abusing it. Like I was just going doing whatever, and not really focusing on what the negative impacts could be. And when I got Addison's, it was kind of the same thing. Like through that, I'm just gonna live. Like I don't need to let it hold me back. But there's a fine line with that. You know what I mean?
Was there a deeper thought back then that you weren't gonna live as long, so you were gonna live like happily, or was it not even that well thought out? Was it just that you were
definitely
young?
Was. I used to always say like I have a shorter life expectancy than others. You know what I mean? Especially with these 2 diseases, like I could be gone tomorrow. But if you like the law of attraction, I've recently like read the book and like been more positive about that. Is that say it's gonna happen, it'll probably happen. So I have to live as long as I can. You know what I mean? Do whatever I can to live the best life. And there's like this saying that find what makes you happy and figure out how to make money doing it. And I've been car washing forever, but I love car washing. I love cleaning. And some people may not find that to be enjoyable, but I really love cleaning. Like it makes me feel good.
Okay.
And specifically car washing is really enjoyable for me. Everyone has a car. You know what I mean? Most people have a car. And
well, in California, they all seem to have one.
Yeah, exactly. But the like getting a little piece of everyone's car, being able to wash it, and I specifically love really dirty cars. And it's just I love it. And if I can do that once a day, nothing's that serious. And finding that, being able to enjoy that, and working in the diabetes around that, my Addison's disease around that, because even car washing is really challenging with the diabetes or Addison's. Like it's really fatiguing on the body. And I used to only be able to do one car, and I was just pooped after.
Yeah.
Now I can do like this last weekend. I did 4 cars. I did 3 cars on a Saturday, and I started a clay bar on a Friday night. And then after the 3 cars on Saturday, I went back down to San Diego and buffed and polished this one car. Spent 16 hours on it. Looks beautiful. And in the course of 24 hours, I did 4 cars.
You attribute that to your blood sugar being lower now that you're able to do more work?
Yep, being more like on it. Like when I was down there, the homie that I was doing the work for, he bought me pizza, and I love pizza. But I ate my like 2 pieces or whatever when I first started. I dosed for it. Everything was groovy. We were working hard, and my blood sugar started to go back down. So I ate one more piece, like kicked it for a little bit, see how it was
Yeah.
like reacting to me, and then you know what I mean, like took more patience with it rather than just binge eating and worrying with the aftermath. You know what I mean?
Good for
Like
you.
yeah, baby steps. You know,
No,
it
man,
can't
that's
be
exciting. It really is.
just trying to do whatever I can. And being that I do smoke weed, people tend to have this negative connotation around marijuana usage. Like people are lazy, people are bums or whatever. And realistically, it's your choice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Same with the diabetes. Like you can not be a responsible diabetic or whatever, quote unquote. But as long as you're doing your baseline stuff, you can always throw in a little bit more, energy or whatever.
Do you think you could take the concept that I'm high, so I'm lazy, and will yourself to be lazy a little bit? Because I'm thinking about, these are famous people who have jobs that aren't washing cars, but some of the really productive people in Hollywood are out about their smoking. Kevin Smith, Joe Rogan, Seth Rogen, maybe does everybody name Rogan high? And you know, like seriously, like those guys they're prolific. Like really, like Joe Rogan is putting out what is probably the most popular podcast in the world. And
without a doubt.
And he does it every day. And if you go listen to it, these are, they're cogent conversations. You might disagree with some of his perspective, but he's not mumbling through a 2-hour podcast going, hey man,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like he's listening to people talk. He's involved in every conversation and he's going. I mean, I don't smoke, but I don't think I have a qualm about it. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't listen to you and think, oh, Alex shouldn't do this. Like you just described to me a life that you seem pretty happy in, where you're taking care of your health, you're getting yourself some money, you're doing something you enjoy. I don't know how to make a problem with what you just said.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I definitely agree, and I've tried to get other people to believe that and understand that. And you're right, like being that it's more public now, it's legal, people can talk about it. I think that's the first step. But like even with this, like I do my car washing, that's my personal thing, but I have a 9 to 5, like Monday through Friday, like an office job.
Right.
And we just got actually bought out by another company that's based out of Florida. And Florida, it's not as legal as it is in California, and they follow the federal guidelines or whatever. So to them, you're not supposed to be high at work, or you're not the coverage is 50 nanograms. And I asked the HR person, I was like, how do I measure how much 50 nanograms is? Because for alcohol, it's 0.08. Like if you come in to work with a alcohol level of above 0.08,
you're getting fired.
You have to be sent home.
Yeah.
But I can't measure 50 nanograms or nanometers or whatever it is.
I've never heard of it before, so I wouldn't know how to measure it.
Yeah, well, they've been trying to get better with it and like actually have specifications on what your limit is.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand about 50 nanograms, whatever, is that I smoke once. Like if I smoke once and I haven't smoked at all in the 365 days, if I smoke once in this month, it'll be 30 days before my weed number is below 50 nanograms or nanometers or whatever. It's you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to judge it or to have like a limit on it in like the business world and like it be on the same level as everyone else.
Right.
And that's the part that I think is kind of a bummer. But as far as medically, you know what I mean? Like it's making big strides, like huge strides. And I'm not trying to be like a weed for everyone advocate or whatever, but it's nice to be able to relax and ponder your mind. And I think some people are like afraid of it. You know what I mean? Afraid to like see what's in there, what could come up if they get high or whatever. But for me, like being that I've had to deal with the diabetes, the Addison's for literally like my whole life, and Addison's at 15, like that was my freshman year in high school. That's supposed to be like a big time in your life.
Right.
And I was focusing on a disease.
Yeah.
The weed kind of, you're allowed to venture in your head, like sit down and just be you for a little while. And like I kind of enjoy being in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Not sometimes it can get a little dangerous, but I enjoy kind of pondering around in there. Especially like I read this book by David Goggins, and he's like a beast. Like this guy David Goggins is nothing to play around with, and it was super inspirational. Like everything is like you gotta go. Like there's nothing that's gonna hold you back. Nothing like the 60% rule or 40% rule, whatever he has. Like when you think you're done, like you're going to quit, you're tired of it, you still have like 40% left in the tank, or like 60% left in the tank that you haven't even tried to use. Like there's still more that you can do. And when I feel like I'm weak, I'm tired, I'm not like when I'm high or I'm low and I'm just like giving up, you can do more.
Yeah.
And that's why I do my 9 to 5 work, and then I do my car washing after. Like, go hard. Like, this isn't, no disease is gonna hold me back. Like, I gotta get my money, and I'm gonna be successful in something. And these diseases are very challenging. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, they can be very, very difficult. But as long as you have the right mindset, I think mindset is a big thing right now, and like mental health is a big thing. Taking that time to focus on yourself, and these last 2 years of my life have really been about that. Like, I don't hang out with anyone if I don't need to. You know what I mean? I'm really about me, and I not letting anything get in the way of it.
How is it dating when you smoke? Do you have to meet somebody who also does, or does that make you incompatible if you don't?
I wouldn't have to have anyone that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't. For me, I like people that can talk to me. You know what I mean? That can really have a good conversation. I don't need weed to do that. I just enjoy weed. But I don't like. No, it's not a requirement for me at all. I'll just have a conversation. If I can have a conversation with anyone and have a good one and feel good about it, that's a winner to me.
What about I'm not sure how to ask this. The is the pot to you, is it because of anxiety and pressure and stress in your life? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's something makes you that, like you're not getting to that place, like being in your own head without the pot, which is, I don't think, a problem. But so can you not get to that place without it?
If I don't smoke, it's like a frantic. Like, I am very analytical. My brain is running all the time. So it allows me to kind of slow down, grab things, and be more focused on, like, hyper focus on those things.
Right.
But I don't need the weed for that. But I think that it does help me, and it's also a coping mechanism. Like I said, like when people drink, I smoke. Like, it's just the same. You wind down at the end of the night or whatever, and you enjoy time. You know what I mean? Like, watching TV is easier after like a bowl or like a blunt or something, because you're able to just move everything that's in your head.
Make it go away, and then you can just exist for a little while. And
when I say like get it out, I'm not saying like completely ignore it. Like, right now I'm about to buy a truck for my car washing, and I need all the stuff to go in the back of it to make it like car washing worthy. When I'm not high, like, I can do those things. I'm gonna buy this truck today, like not high, but when I'm easily like overwhelmed. Like, it's a lot to have to deal with that. Like, I overhead now, but when I smoke, I can chill. Let's relax. Let's look at this from a, you know what I mean, calmer standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm able to make a list of all the things that I need. You know, get it not as the bigger picture. Just focus. All right, this is the stuff I need. Write a price for everything and get a goal set. Get the truck, start hustling out of it, and start knocking off these things on the list. So it's less like when I wake up in the morning and I don't smoke or whatever, I get my day started, I still have the mentality of which I'm high, if that makes sense. Like, I'm still like, okay, calm. You
kind of start the day chilled when you smoke and go to bed. You know who I imagine in my mind is nodding along with you right now, wondering where they can get weed, are the people who get in bed at the end of the night and have to do something to make their brain stop running, and some people just can't do that. Like, it's difficult for some people.
Yeah, and that's a big thing with like diabetes, is that we're always having to focus on something. You know what I mean? There's never really a time where we're just chilling.
Yeah, and if you're a person who can't let go, then that's constant. That's a constant pressure on your system too. I'll tell you a story that maybe you don't know. So the film director, Kevin Smith, he had a heart attack maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I heard on the podcast.
Right, and he had what they considered to be like a widowmaker. Like it kills like something like 98% of people, like a complete blockage. But he described that while he was going through the heart attack, he was so baked that he couldn't get upset. And so he didn't freak out. He didn't panic. He said, actually, when he thought about it, he started going through his life and he thought, I've had a pretty good life. This seems fair if I die now. So he was that relaxed, and they got him to the hospital, performed a surgery, and, he's fine. But the doctor later told him, you probably made it through the heart attack because of how high you are, which is such a crazy thing to say to a person. But he was just like, you didn't appear to have any ability to be upset and make it worse. So you could kind of live at this baseline block with this blockage until we could get it out for you. It's crazy. I mean, it's a very unscientific answer, obviously, but that's probably a testament to it. Do you take weed in any other way? Do you do edibles or vape, or do you prefer to smoke? And do you worry about smoking?
I have done the edibles. I've baked them myself. I've bought them. I've vaped. I've dabbed. I'm not worried about the smoke per se.
Mm-hmm.
Although any smoke in your lungs is not good smoke. You know what I mean? Anything you're putting in there, like even if people say it's clean, weed can't kill you or whatever, it's still smoke in your lungs.
Of course.
You know what I mean? That's still going to cause damage in some way or another. But I'm not too worried about it. I've been at it for a while now. And the worst thing for you, I would say, like, because the blunts, like amongst the weed community, weed society, whatever, is they're really popular. You know what I mean? People are smoking backwoods left and right. And amongst my friends, like all of them smoke backwoods, and I'll smoke one with them. But if I can choose not to, or if I can, you know what I mean, just hit a bowl or something, I'm gonna do that. I would love to do that. But in a social environment, you got 5 or 6 people all trying to smoke. The blunt is just it's a lot easier. It's more convenient, and you're not trying to pass a bong around. That's how bongs get broken. But I'm not really scared of the smoke. No. Although the popcorn lung with the vaping and stuff,
that's scary.
A little bit scary.
Yeah,
a little bit scary. And I just actually replaced my battery for my cartridges, and I was smoking it kind of steady there for a couple days, and my chest was hurting. I was like, man, I don't know if
maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah, but the thing with the vaping, like the little handheld with the cartridges, it's so much more convenient. If you think about a bong, you got to break the weed up, you got to put it in the bong, and you got this big old foot-long beaker bottom that is now in front of you. You know what I mean? And as far as evidence goes, like if you're in a car or something, the bong is not the way to go. And like the vape, the handheld, you can just tuck it and you don't really have it, or in like a public place like Vegas or like a public arena, more concealed, or in like a restaurant, concealed. So it's kind of like per the situation. But
yeah. Hey, listen, what I've learned from this is blunts save bongs, and I think that would make an amazing t-shirt.
Oh. I mean, yeah, I guess it's more like the personal preference. Like some people just can't smoke blunts. Like I've heard stories where someone hit a blunt and their whole mind got messed up and they're never trying to smoke weed again, like off of one blunt, because they just their chest couldn't take it. And I think you got to build like a tolerance to it, or not a tolerance, but like get used to it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's a little tough. But they have joints, they have the papers and stuff. That's probably like the more natural way to smoke it. But the lighter, being filled with butane, you're inhaling some of that. So it's kind of like a give and a take. But yeah, I don't think I'm afraid of it, because if I was, I probably wouldn't be smoking.
Mm-hmm. What about other drugs? Do you use any other drugs, or is weed kind of where you live?
Weed is the only one that I do. When I was a kid, in high school, I was again like really a lot of like mental stuff. Like I have a lot going on in my head, and the school actually told me to take Xanax and Adderall. Like they really recommended that. They had a meeting with my mom and all that, and I took them for 30 days. And I was like, okay, like I'll do what you say. Like I tend to be receptive,
mm-hmm.
but if I don't like it, I will stand up and say no. So I did the 30-day script. I filled the script and didn't take the second round because it just wasn't. I didn't enjoy it. Like I'd already smoked, and I felt like the Adderall and the Xanax were cool. But if I'm gonna be in like a box in my head, I might as well be smoking weed. You know what I mean? Because it was like an artificial box that they created, and I just really didn't like it. So I sold the other 60 pills or whatever, the 30 Xanax and the 30 Adderall, and just never touched them again. And that was right before, like, I don't know if you're aware of these two drugs, but Adderall and Xanax are pretty popular. You know what I mean? Like, people use those things, and I just I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be a self-created box. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna smoke weed, I can stop at any time. Like, there's nothing that's, and some people are really addicted to these Xanaxes and all these street drugs, and I've seen it, like cocaine. You know what I mean? I've seen all those things in the, like, while amongst my peers, and it's just not cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you made me wonder. You made me wonder how many people are walking around with a Xanax prescription who would say that, you know, people shouldn't smoke weed. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing, like, that's what I was gonna hope to talk about with the pumps and stuff. Like, not just because I don't like the Medtronic 670 or whatever doesn't mean that someone else can't love it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
And if that pill works for you, great. But at the end of the day, if you're dependent on something, like, that's going to tether you back. Like, you're not able to see the world if you're on a 30-day script. You know what I mean? Like, and that's one of the bummers about these pumps and, like, stuff like that is you're tethered. You know what I mean? Like, you had a conversation with someone on your podcast that, like, a world traveler. She was going everywhere. I think it was like an Everest lady. I know the Everest lady had to, like, prepare for it, but the woman in India, maybe.
Yep.
But, like, all these people have to, like, if they're in a different country, they have to now figure out their supply chain to get those drugs. You know what I mean? Like, not drugs, but just prescriptions. Like,
right, yeah.
all these things require, like, a postal address. And if you're always moving, you can't get those things. And you got to stack up. You got to really prepare for that trip. And I think that when you're addicted to something, whether that's alcohol or pills, because that's really the thing, is most of these drugs aren't supposed to be, like, long-term use, other than, like, insulin or something like that. But
right.
Xanax is supposed to help you for the time being, and you're supposed to wean yourself off of it. And I think that that's the toughest thing for people, is to get themselves off of it. But I also grew up, like I said, my brother smoked with me when I was in 3rd grade. It's he had a problem. You know what I mean? Like, he's an alcoholic, he still has a problem with it. And both of my parents are, quote unquote, like, alcoholics. They're both functioning. You know what I mean? They both work.
Yeah.
They both love it. But as soon as 5 o'clock hits and they're both not working, they're quick to open a beer, quick to crack a bottle of wine. No
right.
judgment here.
Right.
But it's like, I can't do that for myself. And when I see other people doing it, I don't want to be around them. And that's with the pills too.
When you don't have pot in your system, does it
Yeah.
bother you, or are you in charge of the next time you smoke?
I'm not, like, it doesn't bother me, no. Like, I can, like, I went on a cruise in the Caribbean or whatever. It was like 7 days, and I didn't smoke the entire 7 days. Although I got weed on one of the islands, I didn't even smoke it. You know what I mean? Like, I got it. Sorry, my blood sugar's beeping because it's high. But I got the weed, and I was in the van, and I was just like, do I want to smoke this? You know what I mean? Like, it's been probably like 5 days at that point.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to smoke some dirt weed from an island that they probably imported this weed here. Like, I'm just going to wait till I get home and get some real weed, because it was all, like, brown, and it wasn't really, like, the best looking tree.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy did me a solid and got it for me, but wasn't really
what you were looking for.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't quality, you just didn't bother doing it. It's not like you didn't feel like you're jonesing and you have to. The reason I ask is I just was on a plane the other day, and my seatmate got on the plane, sat down, felt nervous to me. Got up, ran to the bathroom, came back, was nervous, tapping his feet. Then he kind of interlocked his hands and started rubbing his wrists with his fingers. And I'm like, whatever this guy needs, I hope somebody gets it for him soon, you know? And then the cart came down, and he bought a can of tomato juice and 2 bottles of vodka. He knocked it back real quick. His legs stopped tapping. He wasn't grabbing it himself anymore, and he was okay. He was in trouble looking for alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that people, you know, and I don't know why. Listen, Alex, let me tell you the truth. I have a son who's a sophomore in college. I have a daughter who's a sophomore in high school. I do not want them to smoke. I have directed them throughout their lives not to do it. And if I found out they did it, I think I'd be upset. And I don't know why.
So let me say this.
Go ahead.
I don't have any kids. I'm 26 and I'm not looking to have any kids anytime soon. I mean, I would love to, like, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to get some life experience.
Of course.
But I think, like, when I first smoked with my brother, I smoked, and he said to me, "Do you know what you smoked?" And I was like, "No, I just smoked it because you smoked it."
I was going to say, I said, "No, I'm 9."
Yeah. But he said, "Don't ever smoke something that you don't know. Like, ask the person or look at it yourself. Determine what is in that you're smoking." And he went on, I think he told me a story or something, but I remember that little chunk. That's the only thing that I took from that situation.
Trying to give you a lesson.
Yeah. And I think that even if you don't smoke your whole life or whatever, smoking once, you know what I mean? Like, knock on wood, probably isn't going to kill you. You know what I mean? Try it, see how you like it. But I'm not saying go take a line of Coke or, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think people should venture out and try new things. If they don't like it, great. But like
I have no objection to it whatsoever. None. Like, I don't, even as you say that, I think I said on the drinking episode that I saw Snoop Dogg and Joe Rogan on the Howard Stern show, and they were like an advertisement for smoking. I was like, these guys make this seem like a great idea. And and they they seemed fine to me. Now, having said that, I can't imagine a day where I was always doing something like that. I have to be honest with you. I have a hard time remembering to drink water throughout the day. I don't know that I could remember to smoke. And like, even I think it's similar reason. I mean, I'm not a cigarette smoker, but even the idea of giving away the time to it seems odd to me. But then, as Maya pointed out in the drinking episode, I'm not a person who has a trouble relaxing. So I'm not looking for, like, that thing you describe about getting in your own head. I can do that whenever I need to.
Oh, really?
Right. So I don't have that barrier. If I had that barrier, I can 100% think that this would make a lot of sense for me if I was that person. But I can stop and shoo things away. I don't have trouble going to sleep. I'm not stressed out or nervous, like those kinds of things. Like some fairly bad stuff has happened to me in my life. And maybe I've just trained myself not to freak out, or maybe I just got lucky. I don't know.
But they talk about compartmentalization, like stuffing it so low to where it never comes up in your daily life. Nothing triggers it. But when you start to, like, if you smoke or do some mushrooms, my drugs that I've ever taken, I've done the Xanax, I've done the Adderall, I've smoked some weed, I've done 2 lines of Coke, and that's what I've done. With that, when you do those things, like, and I was taught, like, you dig into yourself, you figure out what's there, what's not. And I think that some people have this, like, defense mechanism where they just compartmentalize it. Like, my mom is very much that way. She doesn't like to talk about stuff, and if she does, it's more stuff that she's willing to talk about, and if it goes too far, she just cuts it off. But being open to those things, I think, makes people better, and they're not, like, scared about it or scared about their past. Like, but Joe Rogan has talked about, like, the smoking before, like, a certain age because you're more developed. You know what I mean? Smoking before, I think, 26 is not good for you, being that you're not fully developed, and it starts altering your development stages or whatever.
Yes.
And I wish I had heard that when I was super young, so that I was smarter than my brother and didn't let him influence me. And then also when I was a freshman in high school, like, not to do those things, focus on school more, because in school, I wasn't the best student, and I was a good student. Like, I did my work and stuff, but when there was a time to raise my hand or ask a question, I did it every single time. Like, I wanted to talk, and I wanted to be the center of attention. Now, looking back on it, maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. You know what I mean? But
do you think you were too mellow to focus on school? Like, don't you think some things in life need a little anxiety? Like the idea, like, I got to get this done or something's going to go wrong for me?
Yeah, I mean, I was never too stressed about school itself. Like, I didn't care. Like, I cared about school, but I was more of like if I had a limit of questions in classes. Like, I was allowed to ask 3 questions in a classroom, because I'd asked like 50 in a class, and the teacher started getting upset and didn't want me to ask questions anymore. Like, I was very involved. Like, I had overly participation points to the point where
She was like, Alex, let somebody else answer a
yeah,
question.
yeah, and it wasn't like I would wait. Like if anyone else was going to answer, no one did. So I was like, all right, boom, I'll answer. Like I was very focused on the class, but that was looked at as a negative. But also, like I was also that person in the school. Like there was one time we had a hour and a half classroom session. We had a break right after, about to go into another hour and a half. We did block periods. I went out. I got my food at the break food dispensary thing or whatever, and I went down to sit at the tables. And the janitor guy was spraying off the tables, clean them. And I'm like, you couldn't have done this an hour and a half ago? Like we had a whole time where no one was out here. And you choose to wash down the tables right now? And he didn't like yeah, just spraying them down. So I sat at the end of the tables that he was spraying, and I was eating. And I'm like, spray me. Like, go ahead. If you have $10,000 in your pocket to pay for a new pump, that was when pumps weren't waterproof yet.
Yeah.
And I held my shirt up with my pump in my hand. I was like, spray me. Go for it, please. And it created a crowd of people around me. I got in trouble for that because he wanted to spray down the tables and had no problem spraying me. He did get me wet. And you know what I mean? Like I'm that type of person to where if I think something's wrong, I don't have any problem standing up for it. And I did that in the classrooms as well. And teachers didn't really like that because I would read ahead. And if the teacher made a mistake, I would challenge her on her mistake and see how she responded. It was always like a test for the teachers. And, you know, it is what it is. But looking back on it, I wish I would have just stayed below the radar. You know what I mean? Because being that I was like really upfront, they didn't really like that. But I had an incident, like it was before cell phones. Like actually, we had cell phones in high school, but I was dosing on my pump or like looking at something on my pump. And the teacher walked by trying to be real slick and grabbed the pump out of my hands and like walked. Like she grabbed it and kept walking. And I was like, obviously I'm attached to the pump. So I kept following her because I didn't want her to rip it out of me. And like, why are you following? Like, why are you following me? And I was like, look, it's attached to me. Like, oh, I'm sorry. And I still got in trouble for that. Like, it was just ridiculous. And I was at a brand new school.
Right.
We were the only class at that school. We were the first freshman year, the first sophomore year, like, and so on. We had classes below us, but we never had one above us. And we were kind of the guinea pigs for that school.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was very direct. Like with that incident, when the teacher pulled the pump out of my hands, she got an earful. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to defend myself at all costs. But once I got older, I'm not willing. Like I just got a car washing ticket for car washing in the street. Shook the dude's hand, told him thank you. You know what I mean? Like
getting older, man. Hey, listen, you're maturing.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. But I also think though, like with the schools, the 504 plans and things like that, like those are really important.
Because people understand, because that woman would have known she couldn't have grabbed your insulin pump.
Yeah, and like the education is very important, and not to discriminate for a kid, because even when I was 15, 16, like in high school, they shouldn't, like, say I spaz out at a teacher, yell at her, whatever. The first thing shouldn't be like, okay, you're suspended, you're this, go to the principal's office. It should be, what's your blood sugar at? You know what I mean? Like, what's your blood sugar at? Do you have anything, like, did you take your pills this morning? Like, real questions that aren't just immediately like, you're in trouble. Like, should never immediately be like that. Like, let's figure out some baseline stuff. Where are you at? And then determine, was this a normal Alex type situation, or was it just you were high or you were low, you were frustrated about this? Like, because I think that the school system, being that it's kind of like under budgeted or whatever, the teachers think that they just kind of breeze past certain situations. And I felt like that really affected my education when I was younger, that I was always out of class. I was basically the last 2 years of high school, senior year, and I think junior year, is that the last 2 years? I went to Fresh Start. I taught myself school because at the end of sophomore year, they asked me, like they told me, you're either going to get expelled or you can go to Fresh Start, come to school like one class a day, and it's an elective, so you don't have like any, because the English and math and all those stuff, it was too serious of a class. Like they were like oppressing me, telling me what to do and stuff, and I never liked that. But freshman year, or like the Fresh Start, really gave me a freedom, and that allowed me to get a job, like work, and really be a functioning member of society. with the school system, they don't
Wasn't as
allow
helpful.
freedom.
Yeah.
They don't allow creativity. They don't allow you to be you. And I think that, especially as a diabetic, like, and I'm not looking for special ed or anything like that, but there should be someone in your court
And understands and could
yeah,
advocate for you maybe in a moment when
yeah.
you couldn't help yourself.
And I will say, amongst my years in school, like my elementary school, I had a woman named Heidi in the health office. She had my back, but she also was a very strong woman, and she would call me out like, "Yo, that was your bad. Like, I can't defend you on that. You messed up."
That's good.
And like in middle school is a woman named Romy. She like really loves Keith Urban. I'll never forget that. But she had my back. She always had my back. Whenever she saw me in the office or whatever, was like, "Hey, how you doing?" Whatever. It was super cool. And when high school, I had a woman, like when I got Addison's disease, they had to switch all the nurses in the district because I needed a registered nurse to be able to give me my like emergency injection.
Okay.
And she had my back. Like I have medical alert bracelets, and she's the one that ordered the medical alert bracelets. I didn't order them. She ordered them and told me to give her the money or whatever. And like that's like how can
somebody try to help you?
You can't ask that. Like that's like the best thing you can do.
Over and above. They're doing more than they need to. Yeah.
And she was a cool like person. Like I remember one time I had to do a drug test at school, and I was like, "Yo, like I don't think I'm gonna pass." She's like, "Okay, just kick it. Hang out here for a little while and do whatever you got to do." Like she wasn't stressing on it. She was just letting me do my thing, and it was like the coolest thing. And like I don't know, some people really stand out to you.
Yeah, as
in those type of situations.
Of course. So I
also.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please.
Most recent situation that really stood out to me for medical stuff was on my last like hypoglycemic episode. I had the EMTs, paramedics, like at my house, whatever, they were rolling me out. And when you're coming off of a low, you're kind of like in and out of it, like rebuilding your consciousness, whatever. And I was getting pushed through my living room, and the guy, like I kept throwing up. Like that's what I do when I'm low. Is like I just throw up. But this guy was like, "You've been through this before. Why aren't you being like I was like screaming. My head hurt so bad, and I was throwing up. He's like, stop doing this. Like just stop. Like buckle your shit up right now so that we can roll you into the bus so you're not like throwing up on the stairs as we're taking you downstairs." He was like really aggressive towards me, and mind you, like my eyes were and ears were only awake for that little bit of second, and I heard that, and I like passed right back out. And it really, when I woke up, I still remembered it. So I was like, "Oh, this is important." And that's what kind of got me on this healthiness, was like, that dude was really mad. Like he was upset that I was like, like they had come in a matter of like 4 months. The paramedics had come like 4 or 5 times. It was when I was on my 670. But
I've heard someone I know is a paramedic in a place there where heroin is a big problem, and they go save people with Narcan all night long. Like it's their whole job. And when he talks about it, you should just feel how sad he is when he talks about it. It's terrible. And
it really is tough. Yeah, like just on my end, when I wake up and I see all these people's faces, they all have this like sour look on their face when they're watching someone potentially die. Like they don't know if I'm going to live or not. Like once they give me the dextrose, they can kind of assume that I'll be fine. But you know, it is tough. Like, and coming out of I've had multiple hypoglycemic episodes where I'm completely blacked out. I have no recollection. And my first looks are these people's faces, and they're all just intensely focused on you. And I'm like, what happened?
Even though it's their job, it's still impacting them, and it's hard for them. But you're saying that since how long ago was that you had that experience that made you think like, I'm going to do better?
That one was exactly a year ago.
And since then, you're on a completely different path with your diabetes.
Yes, sir. I completely different. Like I said, I used to love sushi. I could eat $100 of sushi by myself, and I would dose like 40 units of insulin to eat my sushi, and I'd love it. But there's no what I've dumbed it down to in diabetes is that as diabetic, you have a carb allergy. You are allergic to carbohydrates. Like if you don't have your
medicine,
if you don't have your insulin and stuff, you're going to get messed up. So reduce your carb intake, eat more protein. You know what I mean? Eat stuff that isn't going to affect your blood sugar,
Right.
and see how that works. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
Alex, can I tell you, I think you should try the pro tip series that's inside the podcast. It starts at episode 210. It goes for about 10 or 11 episodes, and it's management ideas broken down in real, like, easy to understand conversations. And I think you would, after listening to you, I think you would take a lot out of it. I think you could. I really think you'd be really benefit from it. Can I ask you a couple other questions about this past year before I let you go? Because I've got you longer than I told you I would.
Oh, you're good, man. I'm just chilling.
Thanks. So in this last year, and you've got your A1C the way you do, like, I'm looking for best practices around smoking with diabetes. Like, is there anything, like you said, you don't really have to plan for anything, but you do think about, like, when you get munchy later. But is there anything else that is really helping you keep your blood sugar intact while you're smoking?
Well, removing the tobacco. I don't think that tobacco is good. If you don't have a tobacco, like if you smoke cigarettes, go for it. But smoking clean, preparing for it, like allocating some time. If it's like your first time, maybe smoke a little bit earlier in the day. You know what I mean? And don't, as soon as you get that hunger fix, don't dig into it. You know what I mean? Wait until you're actually done smoking. You've smoked all the weed, and then give yourself some time to eat. And don't eat the first thing that you see. You know what I mean? Like the first thing that comes to mind, don't eat that. Give a little bit more thought to it. You're not, like, some people like allow themselves to get so high that they're just like spacey or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can still be like coherent enough to be like, oh, I shouldn't eat that. You know what I mean? There's no amount of weed that's gonna like destroy you to where you can't know what you're gonna eat. Like same stuff as if you were sober every day. You know what I mean? It's I don't really prepare for it. I just do what I do. Best practices are getting some good weed. Don't get some poop weed. You know what I mean? Get some solid weed so that it's not like a poop high. And you know, I don't really, because weed doesn't have any sugar in it. Like you could smoke endless amounts of weed, and the weed directly isn't ever going to increase your blood sugar.
In fact, you said you feel like it helps it be a little lower sometimes. Probably
I wouldn't say lower. It just
manageable?
When I'm high, it's not the. It doesn't
when your blood sugar is high, you don't feel the pain from it as much.
Yeah, because it's taking it away in some way. But I'll tell you the CBD stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've done the little droplets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a feel for it. You know what I mean? It doesn't change how I feel or anything. But the topicals, CBD topicals, I really enjoy those after a car wash on my legs and my like feet and stuff. Really enjoy that because the CBD stuff, if you get a good milligram, it kicks.
Yeah. Well, so what about the idea of being more relaxed, lowering your anxiety, and that might lower your blood sugar, your insulin needs too.
That could.
Yeah. Okay.
That could be. I had a maybe like 3.5 years ago. I was like in a really sour place. You know what I mean? I was just really overwhelmed with life and everything. And I don't want to get too graphic, but I was just done. You know what I mean? Like I've had this stuff forever, and I was just done. So I did hit the max bolus on my pump twice. Like I think it was like 50 units. Took an Ambien, and I was just ready to go to sleep and not wake up. And I enjoy weed, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna hit a bowl and then pass out. Hit a bowl, and I was like, it totally changed my mindset immediately. And I was like, man, it's maybe not the best thing to be doing right now. Like it totally, like again, like I said, totally changed my mindset on everything. And I just start eating, you know what I mean, to overact that 50 units.
50 units. Wow,
it just calmed me back down. It brought me back to like a centered place to where I was able to like live life again.
Right. That's fascinating. Okay. All right, Alex, I'm going to ask you to do two things, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you at the end here to talk me into trying weed and then talk me out of wanting to try weed. So start with talking me into it. Like why should I try?
I've never talked to anyone into like trying to.
Yeah, everybody you're with is like, yo, here it is, let's go.
Yeah,
but you're talking to a person who has no desire to do it, but doesn't see any problem with it either.
So the best thing I could say, if you want to like Do you drink?
No, not at all.
Oh, wow. I guess it would be like the best like coping mechanism. Like if you've had a long day or whatever, maybe not consistently, but for like a celebration or trying to try something new, like on your next vacation or something, and you want to have a little bit of different feel, maybe try some weed.
What about my back hurts? Would it make that go away?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna temporarily, like while you're high, it's not gonna be the main focus,
Right.
but when you're not high, it's gonna come back. I mean, it's your personal choice. I wouldn't tell you to try it, but if you were trying to try it, you can come smoke. You know what I mean? You can come out to the crib and I'll smoke with you. I think that's one of the things. Like if you're gonna be
with somebody I trust, maybe that can help me through it, that would understand it better.
Kind of need like a shaman. Like kind of need someone to kind of like hold you back, because if it climbs, like there's been times where I haven't, like when I haven't smoked for a little while and I smoked again. You smoke and you're like, okay, it hasn't hit me yet. I'm gonna smoke again, but it's like getting itself there. So where
that's like stacking insulin. You can stack weed. You're telling me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
If you're like you have no tolerance or whatever, but if you have a tolerance,
then
you can
can't
smoke.
Stack it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel weird trying to convince you to smoke. You know what I mean?
I didn't think you were going to. I just wanted to see what you would say.
I will say that I can provide a safe place for you to smoke, and you know what I mean? Real calm, you got a lovely view, and that's, you know what I mean, the best thing I can do. But I think you can't abuse it. That's the biggest thing, and this is like kind of going into me talking you out of it.
Right.
If you do want to smoke, great, do your thing. But when you find yourself at 35 years old and you've been smoking since you were, 15 or whatever, and you haven't done shit with your life, that's the time where it's time to sober up. You know what I mean? That's the time where you got to make the choice. Like, what is it for me that I'm not doing my best? You know what I mean? Like, looking into yourself and seeing, is this really the best for me? Can I be better without this? You know what I mean? Or are blunts not good for me? Maybe I do I got to try the bong? Not being so set in your ways to where everything is for sure. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Do you see a time when you don't smoke anymore?
I've always said that I will always like smoke in some form or another. But recently, like I've smoked less and less just because I haven't had time to, or I get home and I'm so tired. I just hit one bowl and I'm just like out.
Go to bed.
But I'm sure there's a time where I'll like kind of slow down, or I might get like when I'm 50 or something, might get super into it. You know what I mean? Like
might just start back up again. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I would love to be able to smoke forever, and I don't necessarily get lazy. Like when I was down in San Diego polishing and buffing this car, I was smoking the entire time. You know what I mean? It doesn't make me less than. It just sometimes it's kind of a deterrent, like you were talking about with like relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that girl doesn't want me to smoke, so I'll give it up for her. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been in a relationship where the girl wasn't, like she was down, like we would smoke together and stuff, but it wasn't best for me. So she's like, yo, maybe you should quit for your doctor, like so you can figure out what's going on.
Right.
And sometimes that's like someone that you can confide in and you trust, and they think that they have the best best interest for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's
well, you know what it makes
those are the biggest thing.
What I wonder when you're talking is does the act of getting high and taking away your inhibitions just let you go in the direction that you mean to go in anyway? Like if you're going to be a person who lays around, doesn't do anything, maybe this takes the guilt away that you have about sitting around, and so you're just able to do it. And if you're a productive person who wants to get going, maybe it clears the way in your head to get going.
Yeah, I would say it clears the barriers, because with my, like even this truck that I'm about to buy, I'm so scared to buy this truck. Like it's $5,900. It's a POS. But, it's
a lot of money for you. It's a big investment for you.
I mean, 59 really isn't that much. Like I can pay that off relatively quickly. It's just, it's now pressure to car wash. You know what I mean? Before I was doing it out the trunk or in the driveway. It was just fun, But now if I get this truck, now I have to pay that 59 back, and I have to get the stuff for the bed. But when I smoke, it's like, okay, I don't have to do anything. I'm going to get the truck and I'm going to wash cars. You know what I mean? It brings me back down to like, just what needs to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for me, that pressure keeps me focused. Like one of the things I love the most about having ads on the podcast is it keeps, like it's a lot of time. And so I'm able to look at my wife and say, look, there's some money here. Like, it's not like I'm just upstairs being like, I'm going to help people, which would be nice, but it takes up a lot of time. So it's an income that makes the podcast reasonable to do. But the second thing that I'm really pleased about, because I want to do the podcast, is that I owe ads to people. And so the other day, 2 days ago, I had a terrible day. Like, everything in my life went wrong from every angle, and I still had to get the podcast out.
Yep, and so those are some of the best days.
Yeah, I got a lot done, but moreover, if I didn't have those ads, I probably would have just thought, well, I'll just put it out Wednesday then. And who knows if that isn't the beginning of the end for like, maybe I'll do it next week. And
right.
Like, I like that I think that truck might be that for you. Like, it's going to make you, get up and go wash some cars, make some payments on your truck. And maybe you'll start seeing a building. Maybe you and I will talk 5 years from now and you'll have a fleet of vans running around California, right? Cleaning people's cars.
Yeah. Well, and being that you brought up the ads, what I'll say is I think it also helps the companies like Dexcom and Omnipod. They're benefiting because, one, they have a paid interest into the podcast, but not only that, they'll probably listen to it. They probably have someone that's dedicated to listen to it. Like, we paid this money. What are we getting out of it? And it brings them data. You know what I mean? It brings them real diabetic stories that they can maybe apply to their products. You know what I mean? Apply to their marketing plans to see how they can reach the people better. You know what I mean? From their end.
As humbly as I can, I will say that I think this podcast is doing multiple different things for multiple different people.
Yeah, I will say that like being that I got this back in 1995, where literally the dose, like carb ratios and stuff, I had a sliding scale. Like, I took a picture of it on my Instagram, but it's it's come a long way. Mm-hmm. And there's sometimes where I'm really upset. I just want it to be cured already. But there's sometimes where I'm just super appreciative because, like, coming from a 670G where it says it's auto mode, it's branded as auto mode, and then doesn't do auto mode is kind of a bummer. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't do it very well. But like, my first pump was a Paradigm pump in fifth grade. My second pump was a 530, and the one after that was a 670. I love the Paradigm. I love the 530, but they just dropped the ball in the next one. And I was so set. Like, I was loyal, like, to Medtronic. And I didn't want to change. I was super happy with them. But I was kind of forced to change. And going into the Tandem and the Dexcom combo is just killer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. The sensor could be a little bit better. And I
don't think anything's perfect, Alex. And I do think it gets better. I think Dexcom, of all of the companies, they're moving at like breakneck speed, making improvements. And I'm super excited next year for, all these closed loop systems that come out, the Omnipod Horizon and whatever Tandem's going to do, and and hopefully Medtronic will fix their deal. You know what I mean? And give people options.
I just think being that I got the short end of the stick with the Medtronic device, and like their response, like after I had gone to the hospital, a couple times, they were like, "Oh, just trust it. Just trust it." And I was like, okay. Like, I don't understand how I can trust something that I literally, like, now I still have a problem going to sleep at night because I'm afraid I'm not going to wake up because of their device. You know what I mean? That's a tough thing to live with.
Once you've lost that edge, that trust, it's hard to get that back. Yeah. Like how are you just going to make that leap?
With the Tandem, I don't use the basal IQ system. I use the auto suspend, so I don't
get low.
Get low. But even on their auto suspend, Tandem pumps the brakes. They suspend you for a little bit, pull off the suspend, see how you do. Suspend you for a little bit, pull it off, and see what you do. You're never suspended for more than like 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes at a time. But if they need to, they still have the 2 hour. Like, they'll suspend you for the 2 hours.
Just shut it off.
But Medtronic is if they suspend, they don't unsuspend until you're in a different zone.
And then the problem
is if you're suspended and then you calibrate, like basically if I'm asleep and it suspends, auto suspends hits a 2 hour max, and then it needs to calibrate, I'm now back in full basal, and I don't have CGM reading, so it can't resuspend, and I'm sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, that's a recipe for disaster, and it has led to disaster multiple times. And how, like, what was the test market that thought that was okay? You know what I mean? That, like, what diabetics were you talking to that thought that was okay?
Well, I'll say this, and I don't find myself defending Medtronic
Well,
very often,
no,
but
no, no.
if they were trying to get it through the FDA and they were trying to be the first ones, they probably
Yeah.
had to err pretty far on the side of caution to get the FDA to say okay.
Well,
But,
and
you know,
my thing is, like, now all these other companies are trying to get into the market, but the first thing that should always be the first on every one of these companies' minds is the end user. You know what I mean? The end diabetic that has to live with this product. How are they going to like it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about the 2-year diabetic that just got diabetes. They're still fresh in the honeymoon period or whatever. I'm talking about the 20-year diabetic that has seen those ups and downs, that knows how that stuff's going to react and can see, like, okay, maybe what if we try this or this, like the variables. We've seen more variables being that we've had it so much longer.
right.
You're able to, like, troubleshoot them quicker, or, like, maybe
you
make it a little
more
bit better.
control on your side.
Yeah.
I completely agree. There's got to be a ton of user definable concepts in the algorithms, or then you're just going to be with this one size fits all thing. It's just not going to work for most people. And you just, like you said, you get somebody who maybe's just been diagnosed for a little bit. Their A1C is like 8 or 9, 10, and they're like, oh, now it's 7 consistently, and they think this thing's amazing because that. But you're a person who now, I mean, now you're feeling it now, Alex. Like, you're sniffing 6s. You're probably thinking about 5s, and you know what I mean. Like, you're starting to think, like, I think I could do better here for myself, and I'm going to keep trying.
Well, I'll tell you, my doctor is chilling on 6s. She's happy about that.
Yeah, I bet.
But when I heard you, and you're like, not you, but like you talk about your daughter being at like 5s or something, I was like, huh, can I get to 5s? You know what I mean? Like, and when I was a kid, I wanted to go to like this diabetic camp or whatever, like some get together thing. And my mom was like, you want to go to fat camp? And I was like, no, never mind. Change my mind.
Is that
and
what
I've
she
never,
said? And it put you off it?
And I've never been into the diabetes community at all. Like,
well, you're here now, man.
Well, that's the thing is, I've opened up and I've put it on my Instagram. Like, I'm openly saying I'm a diabetic, and I'm, you know what I mean? I'm reaching out to people. I got actual, like, friends on Instagram that are diabetics that I can, like, yo, how would you think about this? Or, like, and that changes the whole aspect of diabetes for me. And it's a bummer that not, like, my mom's not diabetic, that I allowed someone to get in my head that's not a diabetic to, you know, like, she wasn't trying to make fun of me. She was just making a joke about it. But I took it serious. Like, is that fat camp? Like, is that what I think it is, you know? And I let her opinion be my opinion until I was old enough to be like, that's not my opinion. I am going to try that. And I think that sometimes, being that as a young kid, like, people like JDR, juvenile diabetes, like, you get it at a young age, and you're surrounded by your parents that are going, like, they have diabetes too, pretty much at that point. And it's like, if you aren't able to redo your thoughts, or like reassess some thoughts that you've had, you may not find the treatment that's best for you. You know what I mean? To be able to get into the 5s or the 6s, like, the community is huge. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. It's just nice to talk to someone. And I've actually said that to Dexcom and Tandem and Medtronic, that some of the best treatment isn't just like, hey, can you change your basal rates? Can you change your carb ratios? Do this or do that. Sometimes it's just talking. You know what I mean? Just having an open line of another diabetic or someone that knows enough about the disease to be able to respond
in a positive way that could help you.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, I think you threw your hat into the ring. I think this is going to do that for somebody else now. So
I sure hope so.
Yeah, I think so. I really do.
I don't want to be defined as like a weed smoking diabetic, but I do smoke weed. Don't get me wrong. But I think that for anyone else, like, it's not just weed. You could be a yoga diabetic or whatever. Like, people are super into yoga right now. And it's like, that could be your thing. That could be what helps you through diabetes or your Addison's or whatever disease you might have or whatever. Like, it's really whatever works for you.
Yep.
Rock with it. You know what I mean? Like, and for me, I enjoy car washing, but I do the 9 to 5. You know what I mean? I do a lot of different things, but when I find like I love doing random stuff.
Right.
Like, I just placed my mom's rubber boot seal on her washer.
Right.
Totally a challenge. But I wanted to challenge myself, and it was like a kind of a meditation, because the whole time I was being challenged, but I had to finish it because I had to do laundry. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty serious. But going out of your realm, trying something new. Maybe you want to skydive. You know what I mean? And you haven't really done it yet, and you're inching around about it. To take the next step. Like, and if someone asks you to go jet skiing or something, and you didn't think about doing that day, maybe that's what should be, or like what could be more fun than whatever you had going on.
Well, Alex, I'll tell you what, I have to go because I have I have work to do. But I really love talking to you, and I want to say this. When I had you on and when you reached out and we corresponded a little bit back and forth, my hope was just absolutely, it just came true, because I think that people who are not involved in, the culture of weed and smoking pot are going to think one thing about you when they start listening. And I think that by the time they get to the end, they're going to realize, like you just said, you're not just a person who smokes pot. And you're not a diabetic who smokes pot. You're really a fully realized person who has all kinds of things going on in their lives, is overcoming problems, is growing and maturing, and you're a full person. And I really appreciate you taking the time to explain your life like this, so that people who have preconceived ideas maybe won't have them anymore. This was really helpful in a lot of different ways.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the platform to be able to even do this. I was low-key scared to come on here. I didn't know what it was going to be like, but I definitely appreciate it. And I would love to do it again or continue this, or if anyone wants to talk or whatever, I'm totally willing to talk about anything.
What's your Instagram handle?
I have a couple.
Where do you want people to find you? What is it?
Foodonator is like my main Instagram that I use all the time. Okay. It's FOOD, then OH, and then Nader, Nader. Nader is like my nickname. My name is Alexander, but when I got my license when I was 16, the DMV switched the A and the N, Ander to Nader. So it's Alex Nader. So all my friends call me that. So you can call me that too.
Nader, I appreciate it. If I ever decide to get high, I'm going to find you.
Awesome. Sweet. Yeah. And I really enjoyed this. Thank you for having me on here. This was a super cool experience. I think you're really killing it. And I look forward to more of them, really. More of these After Darks, or more of any of your podcasts. You have a really great voice for it, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. Well, here's what's coming up on After Dark. I have a sex from a male perspective I've set up. I've got a set up for sex from a female perspective. And I have a now clean addict who's going to talk about living with diabetes while they weren't clean, while they got clean, and how it almost impacted them to not be cleaning, how their diabetes almost impacted them not to be clean again.
Oh, wow. Yeah, those are going to be intense.
Yeah, so they're really great. I'm very happy for people who are willing to talk about this. This is a real thing. You're not the one guy in the world who has diabetes and smokes.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of them.
We do, diabetics are still real people. You know what I mean? We still do real stuff. And I think this kind of phase that you have going on with your podcast is going to be huge.
I like it.
For that they're not alone. Like you were just saying, there's other people that do that too, and they have questions, and this might be the platform to answer those questions. You know what I mean? For anyone.
That. Yeah. I think you just have to let people talk and tell their truth and let them be honest so that other people can hear. Because a lot of people are going to hear their thoughts in yours, and it's going to make them feel better. So I could keep talking to you forever. So let me say goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you as well.
Yeah. Take care. Have a great day, Nader.
You too. See you later.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you, Nader, for coming on the show and sharing all of this. I just felt when I was done talking to Alex, I don't know, I felt like my mind was opened. I don't know if I'm getting high anytime soon, but I understood his life better, and I think that's amazing. In that vein, I think it's amazing that Dexcom, Omnipod, and Dancing for Diabetes sponsor the Juicebox Podcast the way they do. I think I can announce that they will be back for 2020 as sponsors of the show. Thank you very much, guys. But moreover, I appreciate that they've never once even hinted they'd like to control the content of this show. Dexcom, Omnipod, Dancing for Diabetes. They've never come to me and said, please don't talk about this subject, or, if somebody says this, don't put it in. No one's ever said that. And that's just one of the reasons why I can put on great content like today with Alex, and it's sponsored, keeps the podcast free. So thanks so much to Alex for for showing the human side of his life, to Omnipod, Dexcom, and Dancing for Diabetes for their steadfast support of the Juicebox Podcast.